lot of you folks have read this story, The Man from Laramie, in the Saturday Evening Post. Well, we made a picture about it out in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And here are some scenes from The Man from Laramie.
Well, hold on there, Jimmy. Here's actually a review on the Western classic. You heard him. It's The Man from Laramie. Released by Columbia Pictures in the humble year of 1955. That's right, celebrating its 70th anniversary this year. Starring the one and only, everyone's everyman, Jimmy Stewart, as the so-called Man from Laramie. Will Lockhart, arriving with wagons full of supplies to Coronado, surrounded by Apache country. He delivers them to Barbara Wagaman, played lovingly by Cathy O'Donnell. Ah, yes, you can see the romance is a-bloomin', but that's not the most important part of the story. Will asks if he can bring some freight home with him, and she suggests salts from the nearby dry lake. He does so with his wagons, but gets in trouble with Barbara's brother, Dave Wagaman, played by NICOL. He says that salt's not yours, and in a pure shit-kicking demonish style, Dave shoots all Will's mules and burns his wagons to teach Will a lesson. Needless to say, Will's got a score to settle with Dave now, even though Dave's helper, Vic, played by the great and underrated Arthur Kennedy, tries to cool him down. If Dave gets into any more trouble and worse, gets himself killed over this building feud, then Dave's papa, Alec Wagaman, played by Donald Crisp, won't give the business over to Vic. They all urge Will to leave, but Will actually has an even bigger score to settle that even goes beyond Dave. What is that score, you might ask? It's really revenge, and you'll have to find out for yourselves if you haven't seen this film.
While I'm here, Mr. Wagaman, I'm gonna stay here, and this town better get used to the idea.
This great old film. If you do know your film history, though, folks, this was the last of the Western collaborations between Jimmy Stewart and brilliant director Anthony Mann. And quite frankly, they saved the best for last. People, critics, and filmmakers alike have been arguing for years if you had to choose between John Ford and John Wayne Westerns or Jimmy Stewart and Anthony Mann Westerns, which would you choose? And while I still choose the John Ford Westerns if I had to pick one, the Stewart and Mann Westerns come at a real close second, because what the Ford and Wayne Westerns gain in their shot sequences, the Stewart and Mann Westerns really gain more in their consistent character development. This was the age when Jimmy Stewart had just returned from serving in the Air Force during World War II, and he did bring back some trauma, no question. So it was this period where Jimmy dove in deep with powerful characters, with moral complexities, stronger men with such grit in them that were miles away from the characters Jimmy was playing at the beginning of his career. Here, he is a man on edge, with just as much muscle as the next guy, and isn't afraid to get down and dirty in the mud. However, he still retains a heart, and his character here as Will Lockhart sure has a moral conscience. But towards the end of the climax, this is just a slight spoiler, you grapple your brain on why he wants to kill the man he's out to get. And for those of you who know, it feels justified, but then again, it really doesn't, because the character actually did what was going to earn him money in a dying economy. And therein lies another reason to love these Stewart Mann Westerns. Every character has a dilemma. They have an every man for himself mentality, greed, and in any case, an enriched sin upon them to get what's theirs and take it. God, I just love it. The film came from a short story published in the Saturday Evening Post paper in 1954 and then published as a novel. The screenwriters were Frank Burt, a newcomer highly recommended by Stewart, and Philip Yordan, who had just won the Oscar for Best Story on Broken Lance, another great Western. So it was a no-brainer to have him update the script, even though controversy had sparked that Philip Yordan was a front and credit grabber for the blacklisted screenwriters of the McCarthy trials. So there could be a chance that Philip Yordan did not actually write the script for this. But that's another story. This story, nevertheless, is one entertaining piece with every ingredient working in its favor, from its perfectly apt script, its gorgeous scenery shot in New Mexico, being one of the first Westerns to be shot in CinemaScope, to its incredible acting. Jimmy does very well, as you would expect, even though he got some flack for being miscast and too old for this kind of role. And quite frankly, it doesn't show here. It's not like The Spirit of St. Louis in how miscast he was there. I mean, come on.
Brittle, isn't she?
Mann just knows how to direct Stewart beautifully too, because each action scene, as brutal as they can be, still has poetry in it. Like the scene where Dave the Fauntleroy with a gun, spoiler, shoots Will through his hand. It happens so quick, and we don't see it, but we see everyone reacting, and how Jimmy plays that scene. He doesn't want to whimper, but a man is still a human being. Mann, even as a director of Westerns, always gave it back to his actors versus a landscape shot. Donald Crisp as Papa Wagaman, he's a legend, and is one of those supporting actors who always gave 100% since the beginning of his career, which was basically the beginning of cinema. And you know another supporting actor who is always consistently brilliant? That, of course, is Arthur Kennedy, giving it gravitas and guts. He is so damn good as Vic, and Kennedy was always masterful at giving empathy to men who may have selfish tendencies, who want it all, but you clearly understand their plight under their current circumstances. How Crisp rides him all throughout the film. It's aggravating. I mean, we feel for the guy. I will spoil just one little scene. It is the aftermath of Kennedy accidentally knocking Crisp down off his horse, and Crisp is still alive, recovering in bed, and Kennedy doesn't tell anybody about the accident. And while he's out in the waiting room pouring himself a drink, how he tries to simply hide and calm his hand from shaking because of his shameful guilt. It's such great silent acting where his actions and his body told us everything without opening his mouth. Good old Wallace Ford is always nice to see in here as well. But the worst performance, hands down, is actually Alex NICOL as Dave Wagaman. Good frickin' Lord. I wanted this dude to shut the hell up and die already. In the movie, that is, because he was just atrocious. Every line reading was so forced and so silly. I could not take him seriously.
Say please.
Please.
You turn up around here again, you won't need mules to carry away.
But one bad performance surely does not stop this Ultimate Western from being a true classic that Jimmy Stewart himself said of all the Westerns he made in his vast career, from Winchester 73, The Naked Spur, Shenandoah, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance even, this one was his favorite. Therefore, I give The Man from Laramie a B+. Yeah, I could have given it a bigger rating, but overall, yeah, in comparison with how the plot could have been expanded, like Cathy O'Donnell's character could have really been fleshed out more, which apparently her character does in the serial. I wonder why they trimmed down her character for the film. Female characters having much more character work? At this time of the 50s? Interesting. Anyway, it is that general feeling where I like these characters. I like what their objectives are, and I wanted more to be written and fleshed out for them. But ain't that like a Western sometimes? Simple is better, I guess. It makes me sad that this was the last Mann and Stewart Western they would do, which apparently they had a falling out when they were in the middle of making Night Passage, which Mann was originally directing. But Mann did not like the script, saying it was trash, and disagreed with casting Audie Murphy in the film. Mann quit the production, and director James Nielsen took over, and Mann and Stewart never worked together again. Now, I hate when that happens, but if any Western they were going to go out with a bang on, it's this one. And hey, it ain't a classic Western without a theme song, right? Goodness me, the title song, The Man from Laramie. It's a real good one. It reminds me of those grand cowboy themes that makes you want to get on your horse and ride yonder into the sunset. The song was made into a hit single over in the UK by Jimmy Young, and a hit single over here in the US by Al Martino as well. So we love when a cowboy movie title gets its due on the charts. But listen here, folks, The Man from Laramie. What do you think of it? Or what's your favorite Jimmy Stewart and Anthony Mann Western? Share in those comments below, like, share with all your friends, please subscribe, and stay tuned for many, many more to come your way. Thank you so much for watching, and yes, please, be nice to the Man from Laramie.
If you should ask for a Captain Lockhart, well, almost anybody will tell you where to find me.
I'll remember that.